the previous panel talked about technology and employee experience, I think another important topic which is there about global learning and skilling insights 2025. You know, we are at the intersection of technological changes, evolution and shifting employee priorities, employee dynamics, workforce dynamics. I think this is no better topic than to discuss today. So what we will do is we will have a question to all the panelists, and then I'll have specific questions to each of the panelists. So I think start with Dr. Jagmohan. What's the single biggest shift that you observed in global learning and skilling as we enter 2025? Rather, a quarter of a century already passed this particular century. And within that landscape, what trends do you believe is overhyped? And which one is one trend underrated but truly transformative?
Okay.
So if you can talk about that.
Thank you, Naveen. You made me opening batsman. Okay, good. So there's a match of India-England also starting today. Yeah. So your question is that what are the new trends which are there in learning and development? I will say that just like normal consumers, human beings, in learning and development also, a lot of demand is there on personalization. So that is one biggest trend which has come up, and everybody wants personalized adaptive learning methodologies. Of course, there is always a division between the data security as well as the personalization part. So that is one trend which is very, very important. At the same time, the visibility part, and especially when Gen Z is coming up in the organizations, it is giving a lot of headache to the leaders. And the visibility part is also coming up very strongly. These are two trends which are very commonly seen. But at the same time, with the advent of technology, the learnings have become much easier to impart the trainings. But at the same time, there is always you have to shuffle between the effectiveness of training and the reach of the training. So I also personally believe, I'm a little old style dinosaur kind of person, that I still believe that classroom training is the best way of training. Of course, when you have to increase the reach, you can always use technology. That is how it is.
Any particular trend that you feel is overhyped?
Yeah, I will say these days everybody and anybody is talking about ChatGPT, AI and other things. This trend, I'll share a story with you that, we started this session of imparting training to the functional heads on AI and LLMs. And our managing director, Dr. Khurakiwala, himself took the lead about 1.5 years back. In the boardroom, he made sure that all the elephants are trained on this AI, use of AI. And everybody was made to log into that ChatGPT and make PPTs and make small videos. They may not be using those operationally, but ultimately we wanted to make the use of it. That is now today it has become overhyped. So what happened in the process after 1.5 years, I saw that my clones have been made to address various sessions. And today I put a full stop to those clones now. They speak better than me, they look better than me, of course. So that is a little overhyped, I suppose.
Thank you, doctor. Moving to Rohit. You're not from HR, but you are from a finance background. So what's your take on some of the trends, and one trend which you feel is not really taken up but very important?
Yeah. All of us are speaking out of our experiences, so it is very important to understand what is the context that we're coming from. So I'm Director of Finance of Chennai Petroleum, Indian Oil Group company. I'm Director of Finance, but the HR reports to me.
Okay. That's an interesting comment.
That's an interesting comment, and let me bring in some more interesting context into it. Some of these large public sector companies, are the backbone of India's growth story. Indian Oil have been the only Fortune 500 company out of India. Still, it continues to be the front runner among the few Fortune 500 companies in India. There is a major energy transition that is inevitable, energy sector has to go through it. So if you see from a context, a entry barrier heavy, a legacy heavy company, and if you don't look at agility, there is no future forward. And it's like an elephant, if it can sustain its run, it can change its steps, then the momentum you can't stop. That's one context. The second context, we said, maybe some of the greatest innovation in public sector undertakings are not spoken of that frequently. And one of them is sitting in front of you, a director of finance, the HR reports to director of finance. And I'll tell you what it has brought to me, because I'm not unknown to strategy, because I spent 13 years in Indian Oil's chairman office, working with 5 chairmen, 5 director of finance and 5 director HR on a continuous basis. And now that I'm in the board of this company, which is also, though we call it a small company, it's a 1 lakh crore company. Compared to Indian Oil, it's a small company, but that's a 10 lakh crore company. So I'll tell you the insights. The insights is, when you talk about HR, maybe you talk about talent strategy. Now that a finance hat is there, I cannot think other than finance prudence. But then when I'm sitting on a board, I cannot ignore the sustainable growth strategy. And that is what, when I look to the HR function, that's the hat I look in, doing it. And if you talk about trends, I think we've spoken about trends. And with this context, when I look at trends, I think it's cross-functional learning. Because if you look at outcomes, it will not come from your erstwhile domain-specific, skill set. It is cross-functional learning, which is mandatory, because that is what will deliver, outcome when the transition is so heavy and agility is predominant. And on your last question, that what trends you feel, are they overhyped or underhyped, and which is very, very potential. When I look from my context, from large manufacturing, large companies, I think one of the overhyped things is one size fits all. We go to the recruitment drive, we say electrical engineer, mechanical engineer, this engineer will take a batch of 1,000, we train them. We have the best of the, trend, and we'll train them. And then wherever we feel like, from sales to, maintenance to production, they will work because we have trained them, we have hired them. We forget diversity, how critical it is. We forget micro skilling, And then when we talk about maybe transformational, underhyped transformational initiative, again I come back to the same point. Personal micro skilling will be the day going forward. We talk some about it. It is not that we don't talk about it. We talk about micro learning, but I think personal hyper micro learning will be the key. And then thinking skills. With so much of AI coming around, how do you skill them that they keep their thinking skill intact? Because that is what will be the differentiator going forward. Thank you, sir.
What I'm listening from both the gentlemen so far is about personalized, hyper-personalization. From a one-size-fits-all to customized to a cohort, now to personalized learning. The other thing which I also picked up, HR reporting to finance, they won't have any problem with the budgets. We'll talk about ROI a little later. Moving on with you, Nisha, on the same subject, what would be your thoughts on this?
So, to start with, good afternoon, everyone. I come from an organization which produces the best cars, the safest cars. We make Volkswagen, Audi, Skoda, Lamborghini, Porsche and Bentley in India. So that's important when I answer this question, because I think the word itself has an answer, hype. Okay, trends. These words we don't understand. So I think what we should really focus as HR professionals is first to get an HR qualification. What most of the times happens is I see that, Rohitji rightly said, that a lot of times people just one size fits all. So anybody and everybody who's good with communication can speak well, can present well, fits into HR. And that's where our mediocrity starts off, So I am somebody who believes that getting the educational skill for the job that you're doing is really crucial. And then the trends, etc., can be something that you learn at the go. Also, let's not just make everything about AI and data science. The name is human resources. Let's not forget the human out of it. The most underhyped skill, competency, whatever you can say, is empathy. I think that's what we are forgetting, and we are making everything system-driven. Like, the questions are also about what's the cost-benefit analysis. You can't make cost-benefit analysis in HR. So I think for me, and also for our organization, this is what we believe in.
Since you talked about the most safest and most expensive cars that you...
No, I didn't say expensive.
I'm adding the word expensive, the cars that you mentioned. Any specific skills in your industry which is very critical for your workforce?
See, actually, our industry is undergoing a massive change. So at one point, we were all about IC engines. Most of us drive that. So we had almost 60% of our employees being mechanical engineers. Suddenly, not suddenly, but a few years ago, our government started also promoting, supporting electric cars. And obviously, now there is a huge requirement of electrical engineers. Now we already have these employees with us. We can't really tell them we don't need you and then we hire electrical. So there is a huge demand now. How do we upskill them? And if there are any engineers in this room, you would know that you can't make mechanical, electrical just like that. So that's one of the things that we are continuously working and thinking about.
Also, you never know what's the next trend, what's the technology in auto.
Absolutely.
I mean, hydrogen and any other things which can...
Alternative fuels as well.
Correct. So moving with you, Dipsa, would like to hear your thoughts on some of the emerging trends, although she said trends is a very hyped word, but we'll continue with that. Yes, Dipsa.
I agree with Nisha. Trends is a hype word for sure. I would like to start again by greeting everybody good afternoon and say that I'm really delighted to be here with all of you today. In my last 5 years, in a capital asset management environment, in a high growth, volatile tech environment, where you talk about capability and learning skills and the biggest shift, I think for me it comes down to two things. The first thing I would give you in 3 C's, which is from content to capability to contribution. So it's really no longer about how great your content is or was yesterday. Can it make a contribution for me today and for the business today? I think that's the biggest shift for me, is what I'm looking at, especially because we are a very volatile industry as well. And then the same thing for the second shift that I wanted to talk about, which is from static to evolving. So it's no longer about something worked very well and the skill was really important or hyped, let's say, in today's or yesterday's time. What is the evolution of tomorrow is what we are looking at in this industry. Your second question was, what is overhyped?
Or underhyped, which is transformation.
Both of them I'll answer. So overhyped, I think all of us agreed on AI, and I would like to kind of add on to that, which is really thinking that AI will solve everything. That is overhyped. It's not just that there is an AI and let's use AI. I was talking to an employee and he works into capital, software customer site. And he was telling me, you know what, Dipsa, I'm doing these days, every meeting I go to, every half an hour, I have given myself a reminder, I'll use the word AI somewhere. And I'm like, you don't have to do that forcefully. It's not that AI will solve everything, right? So can we create that human-machine collaboration, which is the underhyped thing, I would say. Can we create that human-machine collaboration and agility in human-machine collaboration? I think that's, to me, is still underhyped or underrated.
Completely agree on that AI thing. My 20-year-old son, you tell him to do anything, he will open ChatGPT, find a solution, give back to me or to whomsoever he's working with. And then when he's asked to go into details, he said, why do I need to get into details? I'm not an expert. For example, he's doing an internship in pharma and he's asked to do something and he said, I don't want to become a pharma expert. ChatGPT will do it for me. So the Gen Z, which is there in the organization, they are too much dependent and too much fixated with a lot of AI tools, and they find the easy solutions, I guess.
Absolutely. And like, you said, Rohit, that he talked about thinking skills and the critical thinking when we talk about today, and when you talk about AI and AI, the dependency that we have, it's going to really lose the critical thinking for sure. So, yeah.
I'm saying AI is important, but that's not the only point.
Absolutely.
I think empathy, I heard the word somewhere. Empathy is very, very important when you're dealing with humans.
Yeah.
So moving on, Krish, same question from your background with Aditya Birla Group and Hindalco in particular. What would be your thoughts on that?
Thanks, Naveen. A warm good afternoon to all of you. I represent Hindalco, the organization which supplies aluminium for making BrahMos missiles, which made the country proud very recently.
So nice.
The entire thing, I would like to put it into 5 C's. You said 3 C's, probably. Being the last person, I have some advantage. So the first C, according to me, stands for content. Content is available here and now. But the question is whether it is contextualized, which is the second C. Contextualized to our situation, contextualized to the problem that we are currently facing, contextualized to the life cycle stage that we are currently in, contextualized to the environment that we are working in. I think that's, to me, more important. The moment these two happen, the third thing is all about the third C, which is consumption of the information. Now, how do you consume? Where do you consume? At what point do you consume? Are you consuming right where you're sitting? Do you have to go to a laboratory to consume it? Do you consume it using your tabs, using your handheld devices? Are you consuming it going onto the field? Or are you trying to simulate certain things which you will do there but sitting here? Consumption, therefore, is very important when you put these 3 things together. The fourth C, according to me, is therefore what is the competitive advantage that we get using all these things? For example, we are talking about IKEA having an app by which you can actually place their furnitures and into your homes and see whether it's going to fit or not into the space, and therefore decide whether to buy it or not. Or this happened recently when I was buying a fridge from Chroma. Now, this actually brings in competitive advantage to the extent that at the point of truth, at the moment of truth, the organization is able to give you that advantage or to hold on to the consumers or to the employees. And finally, therefore, what is the cost-benefit analysis as each one of you are talking about? What I would like to say here is, at the heart of everything is going to be what is the experience at the moment of truth which happens. Through customization and through contextualization, if you are not able to give that experience at that moment of truth, the entire edifice that we have built in would come crumbling down, and it's not going to be of use. And therefore, for me, human touch, therefore for me, empathy, therefore for me, understanding what the other person on the other side is trying to say. Probably there are a lot of things which are not being said. Trying to have a feeling and trying to getting a sense of that is equally critical, along with all the new fads that we are currently facing.
Thanks, Krish. And your 5C theory looks like a Michael Porter's 5 forces kind of theory. So, something, a good takeaway for all of us. Contextualization is very, very critical. I think that's the biggest challenge for any CLO of an organization, that unless you're able to contextualize the problem, understand the business. So HR leaders should be business leaders as well, somewhere what the point Rohit also touched in his answer, that, HR should think from a business angle, not from an HR angle. So thank you so much for that quick answers to our question. I'll go very specific questions to each one of you, and I'll start with Krish again. We'll change the order this time. And Krish, technology, Hindalco supplying aluminum to BrahMos and many global players, in auto industry as well. Technology continues to be a major driver of change. So in your view, how do you see emerging technologies like AI, AR, VR, blockchain truly impacting how we skill and upskill our workforce globally?
So these things are being used in a manner wherein we are able to derive advantage, we are able to predict a lot of things, and we are able to upskill our employees. Let me give an example. Our workmen use or operate cranes which has molten aluminum, which is of 700 degrees centigrade. Now, to prepare them, it's really not safe to actually do it with handling molten metal. So it's about using AR, VR to help them prepare in terms of how are you going to be dealing with this very dangerous operating conditions, but yet do it very safely even before I put you onto the shop floor. And we are talking about workmen who have been in the system for 30 years, or probably whose second or third generation are working. We are talking about, say, my factories in Renukot, which was started way back in 1960s by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So even there, we have been able to use AR, VR to upskill our workmen. That's number one. Number two is when we are talking about supplying aluminium to Boeing or supplying aluminium for, let us say, any of these mission critical assignments like BrahMos, it is to predict in terms of what would be the performance of these materials in different scenarios, and therefore work backwards along with the consumers and along with the customers to say what are the tempers which are required, what are the alloys which are required, what are the conditionings which are required, and therefore make it first time right. These are things where we cannot even tolerate 0.0001% of error. And these are some in such mission critical areas where we have been using AI, AR, VR to upskill and to ensure that we have our competitive advantage.
Very nice. I think what you're talking about is a simulated environment. Rather than being failing at the real stage, they can simulate and they can learn from there. Interesting. Deepsa, my question to you is, in a world dominated by automation, algorithms, what's your take on human-centric skills like empathy, communication, and adaptability? We have been hearing these words, which are obviously more critical. So what role do soft skills play in a tech-driven world, and how are we effectively upskilling our people on those areas?
I'm glad we are asking this question, so thank you for that, Naveen. I think we talk so much about tech and AI and cloud and technologies today for sure, but the human-centric skills, the power skills I like to call them, is what role do they play? I would say that in today's time, it is not just critical. I would say it is actually the core infrastructure. Sure. Because while we might have the biggest of the techs and the facilities available with us, it is, like I said before, human-machine collaboration, but also the adaptation and agility that takes it forward. And I'll give an example, the volatile world that we live in, especially a company that I was with 2 years back, which went through a merger integration, which is, one, the company itself is a capital asset management company, a volatile environment itself already, a fintech, very highly regulated environment, and then the merger integration processes. Now, during these times, we have people who are very good with technological skills, but then it's the power skills, the leadership skills that make huge impact on how are we going to create that leadership change and transition and transformation. So that's my first part of the answer, that I do see them as the core infrastructure, the power skills that we talk about. Now, what are those skills? We talked about thinking, critical thinking skills, of course. I also talk about emotional resilience, empathy, and I talked about something as simple as sense making in today's world where everything is really evolving so very much. So sense making is something that I really put at the core as well. Interestingly, we know these are important. How do we train our people at scale? That's the question here. Going with the same example of merger integration, I want to continue the same example, and I would talk about that, how we integrated 3-part approach to kind of create those leadership skills while being in the transition as well. The first thing that we did was, instead of really focusing on content, the 3 C's that we talked about, the first C was content or a classroom learning, which is important. But instead of only focusing on that, we also focused on, can we create leadership behaviors and soft skill behaviors as well. So I'll give you an example. When you are into leadership huddles or town halls, can you give cues or prompts to your leaders which are driven into soft skills? And I'll give you another example. So if you are in a very heated huddle that happened just now, you're closing the conversation, and then the cue that would come, which is focused on your emotional intelligence, is, let's all take a reflective pause and think 90 seconds and write it down. The decision that we are taking here, is it really the rational one, or are there emotional undercurrents as well? Right? So this can be one cue, but then similarly, you design all your huddles, all your town halls like it, and then this is embedded into behaviors and practices every single day, not just in a classroom or a content itself. So that was one part. Second is something that we all have been doing for a long, long time, which is the digital nudges, the AI nudges, so on and so forth. But I think the important thing for me is, again, embedding them into everyday workflow. Like before sending an email, can I get a pause saying, is this something that you're reacting to the message itself, or is it out of pressure, for example, right? So that's the kind of nudges I'm talking about. And then the third thing is the culture and the overall environment of peer learning, social learning, collaborative learning. So we embedded that as well, involving our leaders coming in and talk about different integrations, mergers, or different kind of transitions. Something, again, we all talk about, Leader Connect, and focusing on that part, but this is where people are learning with them also. So I, as a leader, go onto a panel, talk about my failure as well, and then everybody chimes in what they learned from it. So the peer learning, coaching with each other, cross-functional and cross-regional coaching as well. I think that ecosystem for us work pretty well when it comes to really embedding soft skills or leadership skills and then training people at scale.
I think at the end of the day, we are talking about humans who talk to each other, who learn from each other, who interact, transact. No amount of technology obviously can bring that in unless we have the soft skills. That takes me to the next question to Nisha. Global skilling is something like a shared responsibility. Who should lead this? So who should be leading the global skilling? The governments, the private sector, or communities themselves?
I think nothing works out if anything is done in silos. So I think everybody needs to come together. I'll give you an example, without sounding too politically motivated. The current government is really involved in a lot of skilling. I'll give you an specific example. We have something called as the ITIs. It's basically Industrial Technical Institutes. It exists everywhere, especially in Maharashtra. So what happens is that for an auto company, we need a lot of not everybody is required to be at the engineer level. There can be people who've just completed their ITI. Now, a few years ago, which is about 3.5, 4 years ago, the government of Maharashtra came up with this thought that each of the auto companies needs to really start working with these ITIs and start providing them the syllabus or the requirements that's practical, and that should be something where as soon as they finish the ITI, so typically ITI student mostly comes from an underprivileged background and after 10th grade does about 3 years of studies. So what is expected is that once that is done, please hire these people, but to hire them they need to have those skills, and that skills is only possible if the private sector is involved in making those syllabus or be going there as trainers or teachers, etc. So one of the examples that what Volkswagen Group did is that we adopted 5 ITI women colleges across Maharashtra, and we took up not just because in STEM, I mean in engineering field, not too many women pursue a career. So what we also got to do is we involved the communities of those areas because there was a huge dropout that takes place amongst the girls who study in this zone. Also, along with that, as an organization, we started funding studies for these ITIs, and we got a lot of support from government, the local government bodies there. So just to answer to that, in last, just right now, very recently, we inaugurated a paint lab. A paint, I mean, is painting the car, okay? So a paint lab in one of the ITI in Nashik, and we don't have any presence in Nashik, but 80 out of those 150 girls got recruited by Mahindra, who's present in Nashik, in the paint, section. So what I'm trying to say is that all three have to come together, and we have to go beyond just our objective. I mean, there has to be a common goal that has to be there.
I think Skills India initiative
Yeah, that's one of the other things also that government is doing. There's also PM internship. There's
Yes,
so
the
many.
PM internship is very
Yeah, there's
interesting
so
one.
many. There's so many, and they're really taking that seriously. Just my experience, it's not a lip service. Clearly,
It's now real on the ground.
absolutely.
Organizations, private organizations also promoting skills. They're setting up these kind of centers, as part of their.
Yeah, it's much beyond CSR now,
Yeah,
so
yes.
that is also taking place.
And very happy to note, that it's not just for one company. When you're skilling the underprivileged.
Yeah, the
so-called
ecosystem has to
the
develop.
ecosystem is
Yeah.
now taking them up.
Yeah.
Rohit, a very different question for you, huh? Organizations invest heavily in skilling initiatives. It's quite a bit of an investment. So as a finance leader and leader of HR as well, how do you assess the return on investment, if that's one metric for you, on learning and skilling? Or are there other strategies or other metrics that you feel are critically important? For everything, ROI may not be the only metric, in that sense. So, and how do you, look at shaping up the future of the organization on these lines? Some thoughts.
So Naveen has asked me a difficult question. So at least I owe all of you a deeper reply or a detailed explanation. So let me start with an example. I think some of my words may be different, but all of you would echo with me, especially the very, very large company. See, a shutdown or a preventive, scheduled turnaround maintenance is nothing new to anyone. And let's put the focus back, why it is important. And I'll be talking both from an HR perspective as well as from a management perspective. There is a run length of a plant, 3 years, 5 years. If you do a plant maintenance well, your life of the plant is better. Whatever anticipated, planned, and even unplanned activity you can discover well in advance during this turnaround, it will save a lot of cost, it will give a lot of boost, And in a typical industry like us, the permanent employees are 1,500, one unit. The contractual workers are 3,000 in a normal time, but during a turnaround, those are ranging from 10,000 to 30,000. And then the turnaround time is 30 days. If you don't plan, if you don't anticipate and don't execute, you can't do it. Because, you can take 2 days extension, 3 days extension, you can't do it. Now, this is a problem, this is a business case. Now let me come back with the HR head. Planning, kind of skills that is required, that is my top-end engineers who would be doing a shutdown planning. There will be a list of items based on inspection. So there are inspection engineers who would have done before opening up the plant, a lot of inspection, there will be checklist, and they are probable. There is no certainty. Some there is a probability, higher probability, some with low probability. There will be unexpected outcome when they open up. There will be licensor present there, representative present there, And then these 10,000 to 30,000 contractual workers, a lot of them are very, very highly skilled people. In a normal time, if you get this job done, whatever you will pay between 4x to 10x to 30x during that time. And they are not available endlessly to you. And I have seen from my experience, the cost, the very basic cost, that is potential that can be saved or that can be added, on a very conservative basis is 300 crores, which is nothing but straight added to your bottom line. Now come back to the HR. So not only you have to think about your skilling, which we said cross-functional and outcome-based, what about these contractual workers? This is seasonal. See, the run length is 3 to 5 years. There may be, one each year depending on, different units. But then you have to find out complementarity. So in case of an industry like me, there'll be compressor manufacturer, there will be pump manufacturer. All those exist. Those high-end skills exist. So seasonality, complementarity, and you have to see, you have to invest, as Nisha said, in the community. Can you do beyond CSR and invest in the ecosystem so that when it is required, it is available? And the cost impact to you talked about ROI, I think it will go beyond the roof. So, it will go beyond certain percentages. And if that is the situation in a business and the kind of role a HR practitioner brings onto the table after understanding this business is humongous.
That's a great example, particularly annual shutdowns which typically happen over a period of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, depending upon the complexity of the sites. There, these kind of things are very, very critical. In leadership and behavioral learnings, typically when we invest in that, where there's no immediate outcome seen, but it's a long-term outcome. Any quick thoughts on that?
So let me take another example. We said we're a legacy heavy, entry barrier heavy kind of a company, and now with the energy transition, agility is predominant. So it's one extreme to other extreme. And here all of us are hearing about net zero energy transition. So if you talk about, if my objective in a definite way is to reach net zero and energy transition, where my existing product will become non-product, the customer will no more require those products going forward, then it is not only that net zero and sustainability and new energy I need to invest. I need to invest in carbon accounting. I need to look for skills in green finance, in regulatory framework, in reporting standard and governance, because all of this will not move parallelly. Some have to be preempted. Those skills has to be looked into little in advance, so that totality, my objectives are clear. I am moving in tandem and I am moving right.
Thank you. Dr. Jagmohan has been waiting for his turn.
No, it's okay. I
For
was
a
listening
while.
very intently.
For a while now, because, this question is about micro credentials, nano degrees. There is loads of these kind of certification programs which are running, and everybody is taking up those short-term courses and putting in their CVs, as if, their CV looks much better. You ask second question and they are unable to answer that. For example, people take this Six Sigma Green Belt online course, and whatever CV comes to me, everybody would have that on their CV. You ask a question on statistics, they would not know it. What's the fun in... Anyway, the question is, these are now, very, very common and flexible focused learning paths. Are they really creating impact? Do employees truly value these credentials, or are we seeing a credential inflation problem?
Interesting word, credential inflation. Credentials, very good question, let me share with you. I think I saw all the panelists smiling over this. Credentials are valued, but contextually. Let me share with you, there are two kinds of people. I mean, हिंदी में बोलता हूँ, दो तरह के लोग होते हैं. कितने तरह के? दो तरह के. मैं अगर लंच टाइम है, कोई ऊँग रहा हो तो जगा दूँ थोड़ा सा. तो एक होते हैं जो आता है तो दिल बाग बाग हो जाता है, जैसे संती पुतिराजा जी हैं. जब रूम में एंटर करते हैं तो दिल बाग बाग हो जाता है, राइट? एंड सेकंड होते हैं कि ये चला गया, अच्छा शुक्र है, जब चला गया तब दिल बाग बाग होता है, राइट? सो सिमिलरली ये जो व्हाट यू सेड इज क्रेडेंशियलिंग, this is a barrage of credentials nowadays. So I said contextually because for the youngsters, if they do credentialing from the learning point of view, the purpose is very important.
Absolutely, I think
So if there is a learning perspective, it is good. They can do from LinkedIn, Coursera, whatever platform they want to do it. Because, I recently did a program on Posh for the trainer, and I saw that the certification which she has done has expired. But she did a credentialing part from another organization, which was valid, and she was a very good trainer on that. So that's the reason I said contextualization is very important and purpose is very important. If it is for the learning perspective, it is good. And who is a credentialer? That is again important. आप कहाँ से credentialing कर रहे हो? That is very, very important. And some more aspects are that when you mentioned that stats, when you ask one question, they fail. So what we employers or the leaders, they ask for is the demonstrated competencies, demonstrated skills, transferable skills which are there. They, whatever they've learned, can they demonstrate it or not? What they are claiming to be. That is again, I again take the name of Sandeep because he has drilled in me that the transferable and demonstrated skills have to be seen accordingly. Application of learning, that is again part of it. How important the whatever skill you're mentioning, is it applicable in the learning perspective? I'll give it a project which we did. I called it Digital 101. Across the organization, we did top to bottom. It was a 15 hours of certification program. Now, we created a credential kind of thing. everybody has to undergo this certification top to bottom. Now, that is very easy to go on 15 hours of program. About our compliance was around 85%. But we did not leave it to that. So we said that we will act as shark tanks and you will come out with projects with which you will implement those learnings of Digital 101, which was AI, ML, critical thinking, interpersonal skills also. So with that, you will help us increase the productivity, reduce the wastage cost, at the same time improve operational excellence. So as a result, we were able to get almost 90 projects coming out of it. So I said that purpose is very important, credentialing is contextual, I'll say it. So मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि if somebody is doing for learning perspective, it is good. But if it is doing for show off, but that is mostly it is happening that in our CVs or resumes, you put all those skills and today the CVs are also made by artificial intelligence. And you can easily make out. In fact, I feel so bad that, the Gen Z, they are responding emails also through ChatGPT. So I learned during my learning days that नकल के लिए भी अक्ल चाहिए होती है. तो कम से कम ChatGPT तो निकाल दो जहाँ से कॉपी किया है. In the paste also, in the paste section also ChatGPT is featuring over there. So that is where you have to be a little careful in that aspect accordingly. That's it. Use of wisdom which is lacking.
True to your personality, Dr. Ramon, you kept the hall alive, and with your little humor to the subject. I'm told that we are just at the end of our session. I'll have a quick rapid fire. Give me answer in maybe one word or two words. So, what is one bold prediction you have about the global learning landscape for 2030? One word.
One word is integration of technology with empathy.
Okay.
I think micro learning and hyper micro learning.
Hyper personalized.
I think along with everything, the career aspirations have to be added. So we can do skill mapping, we can do role mapping, but career aspirations have to be added as a part of the learning platforms.
Dipsa.
Yeah, I was struggling between three words which were kind of taken right now. I think I would still continue with what I said before, human-machine collaboration and agility in that.
Yeah, for me it would be contextual intelligence. There's so many things which are available, but what would you use in the particular context? So it's contextual intelligence.
I like that word.
Contextual intelligence is the word that he mentioned. 2030 looks like, we have some thoughts around that. Just a quick one to wrap up the last question, again a rapid fire. Which two skills would you say is non-negotiable? Across sectors, across geographies, across industries.
I think.
Can I?
Anybody?
Okay. Let me start with the philosophy of organization, life wins. So whatever you do, life should win in any case, right? That's a philosophy. And two skills which are non-negotiable is, number one is curiosity. Have a childlike curiosity, not childish curiosity. Okay, not ChatGPT curiosity. That is non-negotiable. Have a childlike curiosity. Number two is be coachable. Of course, be humble. That is something which is two skills which are very, very important.
A quick take on from my side will be your AI knowledge would be like a communication where you should know how to use it. And second, design thinking, I think you can't stop with so much of intervention of machine.
I think for me, being agile is going to be the most important thing. Learning and then, absorbing and not just holding on to it. So I think learning, unlearning continuously would be important.
Sure.
I think for me, it's navigating ambiguity. So agility, adaptability, all of that. And then the second one would be, I just had it in my mind. I'm so sorry. I'll come back to it.
No problem.
So for me, it would be emotional maturity followed by a combination of drive to achieve and learning agility.
So what we hear is agile thinking, agile mindset, and the previous panel also talked about mindset and, learn, unlearn quickly. I would also add one more, which is dealing with ambiguity. The world will become more and more ambiguous. You will not have straight answers. You will not have solutions. You have to, as leaders and managers, you have to deal with ambiguity more and more. Deepsa, you
I
just
remembered mine. It was sense making.
sense making. Okay. Thank you so much, the esteemed panel here. It's so fun, so much fun interacting with all of you. I'm sure the audience here would have also enjoyed some of their answers and some of their thoughts. With that, we wrap up this session as we stand between.